This video is sponsored by Bellessa, who are doing a huge toy giveaway, so stay tuned to find out how to enter. Forget the year of the rabbit. 2023 is the year that I ruin lives. That's right, this is the year that Tara Mooney becomes a villain. Step aside, Keemstar. We've got a new villain on youtube.com. Me, Scary stuff. No, but really, my villain origin story is that I fell off my bike the other day. Don't know if you can see the little scrap on my face. I mean, I've covered it with quite a bit of makeup. But yeah, I fell off my bike, got concussion, fractured my pinky, had to go into A&E. I've got a very silly bandage on my pinky. It just looks very funny. Yeah, so I'm still quite concussed. So today's video is going to be more of a chatty advice, life pondering type thing. If you're expecting some hard-hitting political, socio-economic analysis, manage your expectations. But today I want to talk about a TikTok trend called the villain era. It's a trend that peaked in spring/summer of last year. However, I want to talk about it today because it's a new year and I think many of us are thinking about how we can make changes in our lives and our interpersonal relationships. And for me personally, that is setting boundaries. But before we get further into what a villain era is, let me introduce myself. My name is Tara Mooney, and this is the only channel on YouTube where all videos are written and produced by a cow. She couldn't be in the video today because she's out committing crimes. Because we don't just support women's rights, we support women's wrongs. If you like and subscribe, she might appear in the next video. Now, let's hear a quick word from today's sponsor. Got January blues? Why not get yourself a little pick-me-up? A build-me-up buttercup from Bellessa. That's right, today's video is sponsored by Bellessa, who is doing a massive giveaway. Bellessa is a woman-led company for all things sexuality, education, erotica, and equipment. See that right there? I used the power of 3 and assonance. I have an English degree and I will use it. Bellessa's mission is to encourage everyone to embrace, explore, and celebrate their sexuality. So why not do that today by entering their giveaway? They have tons of products on offer, but if you need some help, I am happy to give you my personal recommendations. My personal favourite is the Demi Wand, which I cannot recommend enough. It works for all body types, so it can be enjoyed by everyone. It has a flexible neck that allows you to get just the angle/pressure you're after. It's the quietest wand by Bellessa, so it's perfect if you've got housemates or paper-thin walls. And best of all, it comes in a discreet and compact charging case, so you can charge it on the go. So you can bring it for when you're traveling, or bring it along to your lover's house. So yeah, it's rechargeable and waterproof. I mean, what more can I say? Bellessa and I are sending out free vibrators and gift cards for vibrators for everyone who enters this giveaway. So do it right now. What's stopping ya? Thank you, Bellessa, for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back into it. So what exactly is the villain era? It's a term coined by a creator on TikTok, and it describes someone who is a chronic people pleaser, taking a new leaf to finally assert their boundaries and put themselves first.
You're probably unknowingly entering your villain era right now. I think for a lot of us chronic people pleasers, our villain era is literally just us asserting our boundaries, expressing and really clearly communicating our needs and prioritizing ourselves, often for the first time.
Now, you might ask, why is this referred to as a villain era? This is perfectly reasonable behavior.
And I think what unfortunately happens is that when you're a people pleaser, that isn't often well received by the people around you because it is such a drastic change in your behavior. And folks around you might start to feel like they aren't getting the same you that they used to get out of the relationship, and as though their needs aren't being met.
And this is something that I've personally experienced and I've also observed in people in my life. People who habitually put others before themselves and don't assert their boundaries shock people when they finally do it. I also think that when you're a chronic people pleaser and you start asserting boundaries, it can come because you've reached a breaking point. Therefore, you might enact those changes quite suddenly because you enter this survival mode. Therefore, it comes as more of a shock to the people around you. So what is it about this trend that has grabbed people's attention, particularly women, young women? Well, if you've watched any of my videos, you'll know that I love talking about gender, and it'll be no surprise to you that when women assert authority and boundaries, there can be double standards. You know, the whole classic trope of if a man is a leader, he's authoritative, whereas if a woman is, she's bossy, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's feminism 101. But I don't think that's a phenomenon that only exists in the corporate world. I think that double standard permeates personal relationships. I've been discussing this a lot with friends lately, how if you have siblings and say you're the girl, you might be held to higher standards than your brothers. Or if you're an older sibling, not even necessarily on gendered grounds, and you've been living with that expectation all your life of holding it together. And that's a habit that can be incredibly difficult to break. Setting boundaries takes practice and is easier said than done, which is what I love about this trend. TikTok has finally come up with something good. Now, just to differentiate, this is not the same thing as main character energy or main character syndrome, which refers to when someone is the main character in their own story, which, in fairness, we are all the protagonists of our lives. But the term main character energy is now used to refer to people who are a bit self-centered and see everyone else as secondary characters in their story. Whereas the villain era is simply embracing the fact that putting your own needs first might lead to people seeing you as a villain, and that's okay. Yesha Mehta, therapist at the Mood Space, talks about how people-pleasing as a habit stems from childhood. It stems from a basic need to please others, to be seen as a good person and to be liked by all. As a consequence, people often fear that if they say no or set healthy boundaries, the world will view them in a negative light, which will, in turn, push people away. This right here. You know, we experience this in all facets of our lives, but I've especially related to this lately in my dating life. And I'm sure many of you relate to this. Dating is the pits. You might be in a situationship, that you want to stay in, but there's a problem, or maybe a few problems. And you're scared that if you bring it up, you rock the boat, that the person will bolt. Here's some advice. If you asserting your need makes that person bolt, they were never going to meet that need. And it's better to bring it up sooner than later. Now, as with any internet trend, there are of course critics. Firstly being that, why do you need any terminology for just looking after yourself? And here's my response. If you are someone who is so not used to saying no, the fear of doing so can be suffocating. The few times in my life where I've, asserted myself and really stood my ground, it's as if something just came over me, like this inner me that has been trapped has clawed its way out and gone, no! It's that idea of faking it till you make it. Now, if you need to look in the mirror and say, I'm a villain, in order to take the first step in looking after yourself, then I think that's grand. And the second critique I saw was in an article by Vogue, where they discuss how the term villain throws up dubious connotations, as if it plays into the idea that, a woman is a bitch for standing her ground. And to me, this directly links to the debate around reclamation, reclaiming words. So what I'm talking about is when a marginalized group has a word that has been used against them, and they decide to reclaim it in order to change its meaning to be empowering to that group, or to take ownership of their marginalization and throw it back in the faces of their oppressors. So a major example of this is the word queer. I personally identify as queer. Many of my peers do. I like the word queer. I like that it's an umbrella term. I like that it's flexible. I like that it's vague as well. As someone who's attracted to all genders, I know that there are many debates, which I cannot for the life of me get into today, about whether pansexual is better than bisexual, or if bisexual is better than pansexual. So queer just means I can avoid that whole debate. Now, when I've used the word queer in past videos, I have had a very small fraction of comments saying, hey, queer is not a nice word that is used against the LGBT community. And I totally get where they're coming from.
Just to be clear, when I say I understand where they're coming from, I don't mean people that are coming at it from a turfy, trans exclusionary dog whistle kind of way. There are people who oppose it because they hate trans people or non-gender conforming people. The category of people I do empathize with on this issue are ones who grew up with it as a slur and it makes them uncomfortable.
However, personally, I'm pro reclaiming this word. I think it's kind of awesome that the LGBT community have taken a word that's been used against them and have turned it into an identity. Now, this does not apply to all words. So yeah, it's a very complicated issue, and I'm being a bit of a politician here, saying that, I don't know, both sides kind of make sense. But genuinely, I just think it really is situational. So back to the word villain. Now, villain isn't a term that is historically used to oppress women or anything, but it is reclaiming the notion that as a woman, if you stand up for yourself, you're seen as a villain or a bitch. And I know some people that use the word bitch affectionately. Like, that's my bitch. Hello, my lovely bitches. I don't think I pull it off. It's giving, my money don't jiggle jiggle, it folds.
My money doesn't jiggle jiggle, it folds. I wanna see you wiggle wiggle, for sure.
Another example is the word slut. There seems to be quite a new reclamation of that word with the whole meme of the slut era, which I personally love. And basically a slut era is when a femme decides that they just want to, you know, explore their sexuality and have as much sex as they enjoy and not feel ashamed about it. So again, a reclamation of the word slut, a word that has been historically used to demonize women's sexuality. So yeah, basically, I am very pro villain era and I am dying on this hill. And I don't think this is just a gender thing. I think there's a really important life lesson in this. As well as being someone who is a chronic people pleaser, I am someone who demands closure and control of situations. And something I've learned is that you're not always going to get closure. You're not always going to get the last word, and you're not always going to get to say what you needed to say. There might be people who have misconceptions of you. They might not have the full story, and perhaps they're never going to. And sometimes you've just got to make peace with that. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that today because it's a new year, and rather than saying new year, new me, I want to say just new year, be slightly nicer to me. And I actually think this is a very wholesome trend. I just think there's something very funny and cute about someone being like, hey, I'm really sorry to bother you, to inconvenience you, but like, could you please not put peanuts on my stir fry? I'm like deadly allergic. If that's okay, please. I'm really sorry. Thank you so much. Ugh. Canadians. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the ponderings of Aunt Tara Mooney. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like because one like equals one villain origin story. Anyway, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.